Hello, Geometry. This is Mr. Kim. In this video, you will be able to find the answers to all of the study guide questions that I had posted for you guys last time. So I believe I helped you guys out with number 9 here, but in order for you guys to do this question, you always must find the slope. Please remember that the slope is always y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, no matter what type of question you may get. So first, in the slope, 14 minus 10, we're going to do y2 minus y1 that way. We're going to subtract these two numbers. Then we're going to subtract, in that order, the second one minus the first one, which is negative 7 minus 8. Some of you guys are still struggling with negative numbers. You've got to make sure that when you're subtracting a negative number from a negative number, it actually becomes a bigger negative number. So it's negative 15 up down there. It's 4. So the slope actually becomes 4 over negative 15. Now, if you're trying to figure out the parallel slope to this, the parallel slope always states that the slope must be the same. So the parallel slope will be exactly as it is. It's 4 over negative 15. Now, the perpendicular slope to this would be negative reciprocal. So you will have to flip the top and the bottom. So it'll be 15 over 4. But since this one was a negative, this one will turn into a positive slope. So the answer to the perpendicular slope will be 15 over 4. I'm just gonna fly through these now. So 2 minus 1, negative 17 minus negative 3. Make sure you put a double negative sign because you're subtracting a negative 3. That's negative 14, and that's a 1. So parallel slope should be 1 over negative 14. Perpendicular slope should be positive 14 over 1. And I believe that should be the correct answer for this one. Negative 10 minus negative 4. Negative 12 minus negative 20. Here, subtract this. Here, subtract that, which means this will give you 8 at the bottom. This will give you negative 6 at the top. So that's reduced to negative 3 over 4 if you divide the top and bottom by 2. So the parallel will be negative 3 over 4. Perpendicular slope will be positive 4 over 3. Change the negative sign and then flip them over. Negative 8 minus negative 5, 0 minus negative 12. So this would be, I believe, negative 3 over 12. So parallel slope will be 1 over 4, and the perpendicular slope should be positive 4 over 1, or just 4 would be the same thing if you were to write down the answer. 16 minus negative 6, 15 minus negative 19, that's 22. 34, reduce it to 11 over 17, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think everything should be good. Yes, okay. So that means that the parallel slope, 11 over 17, perpendicular, negative 17 over 11. Negative 9 minus 9, 7 minus negative 6, that's 13, negative 18. Now, you might be wondering, do I need to write down parentheses after the negative sign like this, like every single negative numbers you see? My advice, yes, do that so that you don't lose track of that fact that you're subtracting a negative number, so double negatives turns into a positive and all those wonderful things. Parallel, perpendicular, can't reduce 13 over 18. You can't really reduce anything. I believe I asked you guys to skip 15 here. So 12 minus negative 18, 11 minus 12. That's negative 1 at the bottom, 30 at the top. So parallel slope will be negative 30 because 30 divided by negative 1 is the same thing as saying negative 30. So what's the perpendicular slope? Will be 1 over 30. It will be a positive number because it was negative in the original. Okay, so I hope these will give you guys the idea as to what I'm looking for. Let's move on to the next one. So the slope is clearly identified for 17. How do I know that? Please write this down if you haven't done so already. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. B is the y-intercept. But right now, we don't really care about the y-intercept. We only just want to focus on the slope. Notice that the y is by itself right now, which means I can just tell right away what the slope is going to be. So parallel, always the same. Perpendicular, flip them over. You're wondering, negative 5 is negative 5 over 1. So 1 is at the bottom if you flip it to the top. 1 over 5 turns into a positive because it was negative from the first place. Slope is 1 over 3. So parallel will be 1 over 3. Perpendicular will be negative 3 over 1, or just negative 3. This one at number 20, I asked you to skip. Number 19, the parallel slope will be negative 1 over 5th. The same thing. Perpendicular will be positive 5. Slope here is 1 over 4. So the parallel slope will be 1 over 4. Perpendicular should be 4 over 1, but it's going to be negative sign. Parallel will be 2 over 3, perpendicular will be positive 3 over 2 because you flip them over and change the sign. This one, the slope is 1 here, but it's negative. Even though there's no numbers you can see in front of the x, it's implied that the negative sign in the front makes it to a -1. Flipping them over, it's going to be a positive 1. 1 over 1 is still it's still going to be 1 regardless. Same thing here, -1 plus 1. I mean, it's the exact same question as 24. Slope is exactly the same, so just copy and paste. These you actually have to do some work. You have to solve for y, subtract the 2x on both sides. 3y equals -2x plus 9. Divide everything by 3. Which should give you a really nice slope-intercept form after. Now you tell me what the slope is, which is -2 over 3. Which means the parallel slope will be -2 over 3, and the perpendicular slope will be positive 3 over 2. Move the 5x to the other side. 2y equals -5x plus 6. Divide by 2 on every side. Y equals -5 over 2x plus 3. The slope right here will be -5 over 2, which means that the slope is -5 over 2 for the parallel, and the perpendicular will be 2 over 5, and it's going to be positive here. Okay, and now moving on. So this one, you look at the slope, and you have to tell me whether it's going to be parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting. I think I asked you guys to write down the word neither if that was the case. So here you take a look at the slope, 6 over 7, -7 over 6. Notice how they're reciprocated and a negative sign, so it's going to be perpendicular. This is 3 over 2, and now I have to do some work with this. Subtract the 2x, 3y equals -2x minus 9. Divide by 3 on everything. Notice how my slope is -2 over 3. So 3 over 2 versus -2 over 3. It seems to me it's flipped over, as well as the negative sign has been swapped from positive to a negative, so it's going to be perpendicular. I have the exact same slope, parallel. The slope is 3. Now the slope here is not 3, because you have to subtract the 3 onto both sides and get y by itself. Now you can tell me what the slope is. It's -3. So 3 versus -3. It is negative, but it's not reciprocated, nor is it exactly the same. This is a neither situation. X minus 2, x plus 4. The slope of both of these is 1, therefore it's parallel. It's 2 versus 1 over 2. It's reciprocated, but does not have the negative sign. Neither. Slope is -3 over 2. Subtract the 3x on both sides of this equation. You get -2y equals -3x plus 2. Divide by -2, please, because negative sign follows along with the 2. This makes the slope to be positive 3 over 2. Now you have a -3 over 2 and positive 3 over 2. It's the same situation as question 6. They are negative versions of themselves. However, it's not reciprocated. Therefore, it cannot be parallel nor perpendicular. It's neither. Last but not least, we have the slope of -2 over 5. Add the 5x on both sides of the equation. You get 2y equals 5x plus 6. Divide by 2. -2 over 5 versus 5 over 2. It's perpendicular, reciprocated, and has a negative sign. Find the slope of a line parallel. It seems to me you just have to copy and paste whatever you guys see here. That's 2, that's 4, -2 over 3, -10 over 3. Now for the rest, you have to do a little bit of extra work. For this one, x minus y equals 4. Let's subtract the x on both sides of the equation, and what you're going to get is -y, because that negative sign, please guys, that does not disappear, is equal to -x plus 4. Now, whenever you want to switch the sign, you can kind of think of it as, you know what, I'm going to multiply or divide everything by -1 if you want to think of it that way. They cancel out. Positive y is not going to equal. The two negative signs will cancel each other out for x's, so it will leave you with positive x. -4, because 4 divided by -1 is -4. Now, the slope here, it's implied that there's a 1 in there, because it's 1 times x will still be an x. So the slope will be a 1 for number 5. Number 6, same thing. If you move it around, you get -5y equals -6x plus 20. Divide by -5 on everything. You get y is equal to 6 over 5x minus 4. So the slope should be 6 over 5. Parallel will be 6 over 5. Y is equal to -7x minus 2. I'm skipping steps, but remember, you're just going to subtract the 7x on both sides. You're going to get the exact same thing. Parallel slope should be -7. Last but not least, 4y equals -3x minus 8 divided by 4. The slope is -3 over 4 for parallel slope. Find the slope of a line perpendicular. We're not going to do something like number 9 here. Let's do this one. Notice how the slope is negative 1 over 2. Now you reciprocate it, it becomes 2 over 1. It's negative originally, so it's going to be positive. So it's positive 2 for number 10. Negative 1 over 3 turns into a positive 3 for 11 because it's 1 over 3 flipped over, 3 over 1. 4 over 5 flipped over will be 5 over 4. Don't forget to put a negative sign in there. Same thing here. Let's solve for the y here. Move the x. Because you subtracted the x on both sides, it will be negative x minus 6. Divide by negative 3 on everything. Y is equal to 1 over 3x plus 2. The slope is 1 over 3, which means I need to negative reciprocate that. So it's negative. It's originally positive, so it's going to turn into a negative. 3 over 1 should be the final answer, or just negative 3. Number 14. Number 14, I will just write it down here. Subtract the 3x on both sides of the equation. The negative y comes down. Negative 3x minus 3. Divide everything by negative 1, if that helps you out, which will leave you with y equals positive 3x plus 3. The slope is 3. Turns into a negative reciprocal will be a negative 1 over 3. I hope you guys understand that. 15, we have 2y equals negative x plus 8. Where did I get the negative x from? Just subtract the x on both sides. Divide by 2. Y is equal to negative 1 over half x plus 4. The slope is negative 1 over 2, so it's going to turn into a positive 2 for your perpendicular slopes, because flip it over, it's 2 over 1. And it's going to turn in from negative to a positive. Number 16, I'm going to do it down here. 8x minus 3y equals negative 9. Negative 3y equals negative 8x minus 9, divided by negative 3. You get the idea. So y equals positive 8 over 3x, guys, because the two negative signs cancel each other out, plus 3. So since your slope is now 8 over 3, you reciprocate it, it should give you 3 over 8. But since it was a positive originally, it will turn into a negative sign. So the answer should be negative 3 over 8. Okay, so that should wrap up the study guide. I will upload this for you guys also on Teams. Take a look at the answers. Please make sure you guys know how to do this by Monday, because we don't see you tomorrow. We don't have geometry class. We drop tomorrow. So I hope this video helped, and I'll see you guys next week.